Okay, hi, welcome back. Today's flight is from London to Reykjavik. It's gonna be about 40 minutes. We're gonna spend a lot of time touring a couple of different places before we get there. I originally intended for this video to be uh, kind of a long one, maybe like an hour, going from London to Goose Bay. But apparently that's too much effort for my video editor. So, and I don't mean my video editor person, I mean the program that I'm using. Yeah. So yeah, here we are, London, S16 once again. And in a moment I'll be showing you the actual flight path of our tour around England. But we're gonna take a faster than the last video and shorter than you could in this aircraft tour of London. There's the eye, Big Ben. And then let's go buzz King Charles.
Altitude. Altitude.
So we're gonna make our way southwest first to a place that I always like to visit when I'm in this area. And if anybody's a fan of the show, they'll know it immediately. This is the Dunsfold Aerodrome, home of the Top Gear test track. Yeah, it's down there in that corner. Well, not that corner, but that section of the runway is it. I heard that they were going to be deleting or removing it, but we'll see. So here's a little tour, our tour path as you can see. We're going to fly west towards Cardiff, up to Sheffield and Manchester, and then across the Isle of Man, Dublin, back down to Skellig Michael, and then all the way up to the Giant's Causeway and into Glasgow and Edinburgh. But along the way to Cardiff is this little stop, which you're not going to see anything, because I didn't see anything. We got to this location and discovered that it was entirely covered in fog. You know, such as England. Just what you get. But a lot of people don't know this. In addition to there being a Stonehenge, not far away is another place called Woodhenge, which I believe is a lot more like, probably a lot more ruinous than Stonehenge. I've never seen it. I've seen pictures, but I'd yet to find it in flight sim, so I decided to do it on this flight. And unfortunately, did not pay attention to the weather, as is usual for my flights. So I gave up and took off west to Bristol and Cardiff. I don't really know that much about like the individual things that are here in the UK, but I do know the names of a bunch of the cities because, you know, if you watch Top Gear at all, you know them. And I'm sure like they're mentioned in other media. So Bristol should be down to the right a little bit, if I bother looking right. At any point. Maybe it's to the left. Yeah, that might be it down there. And then straight ahead of us is Wales, and this is the southeastern edge of it, leading out to the water. Alright, I don't know what happened with my voice there. This happens when I record right after waking up. Didn't really do a good job of identifying a lot of these cities as I was flying through the UK. So I apologize in advance, but we're in quite a hurry to get to the United States, as most of the world tour up to this point have been conducted elsewhere. And it was a nice reminder that there was a finish line in sight. But let's see. At the time of recording the audio for this, not the video, I have actually completed it, the whole world tour. So I'm just now getting around to re-uploading or editing and uploading the remaining videos between then and now. In addition to the last video, which was a video I took after the Dune DLC came out, so it was actually pretty fun, and I recommend you checking it out. Though I don't know who I'm talking to because nobody watches these, except for me. So you know, me, go watch those videos because they're fun. Be proud of yourself for finishing the Dune DLC challenge. Somewhere in this area, I think this is Birmingham we're flying over right now. Yeah. Somewhere in this area, a little bit northeast of Birmingham, I think is Nottingham. And the Sherwood, it's called something else. It's not called the Sherwood Forest. But it is essentially the same place from the Robin Hood stories. It's not easy to find, nor is it easy to identify. But yeah, it's Manchester. We're heading west now towards Liverpool and out towards the Isle of Man. Yeah, so after this video, there'll be one from Reykjavik to Goose Bay, and then probably Goose Bay to Daytona Beach, Florida, and then Daytona Beach to, I think there's a little tour of Florida that I do, and then from Florida to South America through the Caribbean. And of those that I just mentioned, two of them include my brother. The one from Goose Bay to what's it called? Daytona Beach. That one includes my brother. And then from Florida to you know, a certain part in the Caribbean, my brother is also involved. But after that, we go all the way down the east coast of South America, stop in Antarctica, finally, and then travel up the west coast of South America. I was thinking about doing a tour of North America as well, but I think what I'm going to do is actually going to leave that for another day, because there's a lot of places you can go in that, and I didn't want to necessarily leave anything out. In fact, what I'm considering doing is actually a yeah, there you can see the Isle of Man up ahead. What I'm considering doing is actually a like a cross-country race, if you will. I know how fast certain aircraft go, and I think it'd be fun to take like the helicopter for 2 hours every day for like a month maybe, and cross the United States. A lot of fun. The Isle of Man is beautiful. I've never been in real life, but I've seen tons of videos and pictures. Tons of videos and pictures. it's most well known in the motoring world, like the motorsport world, for the Isle of Man race, which is quite a spectacle if you ever feel inclined to go look at it. And I don't know the exact course, but I like to think that that little loop we just did was the fastest the course has ever been completed. So, you know, you're welcome. And then off to Dublin. Today's beverage is provided by Starbucks, so thank you. Drinking a venti hot vanilla latte, because even though it is the middle to end of February, usually the time when Texas decides to shed its winter pretense and go back into its default state of hot as hell. It's actually 58 degrees outside, and therefore a little bit chilly. Before you tell me, yeah, I don't think that's cold, because, you know, I live in a place where the temperature regularly gets down to -14 during the winter. I hear you. I have lived in places where that happens. I spent part of my life in Germany, living there, and was regularly acclimated to the winter weather every single time it passed through. However, since I have been in Texas for like at least 5 years at this point, my body is acclimated to the heat in some ways, and 58 degrees is now cold. That's 58 Fahrenheit, by the way, not 58 centigrade, because 58 centigrade would be death, but of the opposite direction. Anyway, we just passed Dublin, heading towards Skellig Michael. There's 40 minutes of this video. I'm just going to keep talking about randomly things that I want to talk about, so sorry about this. Considering that I've already recorded once, and the video was messed up, so I had to re-record it, I'm kind of past my temper, or past my, past the point of caring, really. Ireland is gorgeous, by the way. If you have a chance to fly over it, I have never really taken the opportunity to fly slow over Ireland, but I'm tempted to after this flight. I usually stick to England. I at one point took the F-16 up for a round, like an afternoon stroll, if you will, around the circumference of the UK, neglecting Ireland, I mean. So, you know, heading out the Thames towards the Channel, taking a left, going up to Scotland, following Scotland all the way around, passing over the Isle of Man, and then coming back down between England and Ireland, and then hooking a left and following the coast. This is Skellig Michael. I have to admit that for a large part of what remains here in this flight, in England and the UK specifically, I will be showing a lot of places that are notable for their film locations, such as this, which was featured quite heavily in the anti-trilogy, aka the sequel trilogy from Star Wars, where Luke goes to be depressed, and the old Jedi Temple exists. By the way, I apologize. As a filthy American, my knowledge of the naming conventions when it comes to England, Great Britain, and the UK is kind of garbage. I'm not gonna lie. I probably could learn it. I think the UK knowledge about the UK should be super important to me, considering my grandfather is British, or was British. He's dead now. kind of went dark, didn't it? But yeah, I guess now that he's gone, there's nobody to get angry at me over this, so I haven't bothered. Anyway, yeah, so there's a lot of locations here that that I know from films and television. So we're gonna be spending a lot of time flying these areas. Just like kind of what we did. We did this a little bit in New Zealand for the Lord of the Rings movies. But there are quite a few Harry Potter locations here. Right now we're heading towards Belfast. Belfast. I don't know how to pronounce that. Sorry. Someone's gonna yell at me in Irish probably. Gaelga. I don't know why, but we decided not to look at the actual city. Besides that, right there, and then just hook the left to the Giant's Causeway immediately. I'm gonna get so many people yelling at me for this. I'm just foreseeing it now. Like, you should have more respect for your grandfather. If you're gonna do a tour of our country, why are you doing it with such disdain? There's no disdain, I promise. I'm just tired and annoyed and upset, which is a direct contradiction to my last video with the Dune DLC. Super over the fence. I was over the fence in that video. Yeah. So we're near Belfast, huh? Well, you could have just looked at the map and did the circle around it afterwards instead of that. Here's the Giant's Causeway. And I don't remember exactly what this is famous from, but I wanted to go check it out anyway in case I remember. I think it's in Harry Potter. I want to say it's in Harry Potter. I also don't know why I decided to edit this in so slow. It's taking forever. If I'm not mistaken, this is the area that's like got the strange hexagonal geometric formations. I don't remember. Here we're gonna head towards Glasgow and Edinburgh. I think it's the Isle of Arran down below. Very mountainous. About this point in the video, I was getting a little bit tired. I can remember very clearly thinking that I shouldn't have done this whole trip. I should have just gone straight to Inverness or Edinburgh and just, or Adelaide. Is Adelaide in Scotland? I'm pretty sure it's, no, Adelaide's in Australia for sure. But what's the name? Is it Aberdeen? It might be Aberdeen. It didn't matter. I was thinking maybe I should have just cut off the whole of this island nation and just gone straight up to the Faroe Islands and cut across. Could have edited everything together quite nicely if I had done that. So yeah, there was Edinburgh. We're gonna take a left back north and head towards the Scottish Moors. So now these moors are actually really famous in Harry Potter because it's the scene from Prisoner of Azkaban in which the Dementors attacked the train. That whole area. I think they're called the Renok Moors. I'm not really sure. I also think these are the moors that are mentioned in Sherlock Holmes, but I couldn't necessarily say that with absolute confidence. I should have included a picture, but I think it's kind of obvious which parts of Harry Potter this is referencing. I think also in the second one, fourth one, when they're flying the car, I think they also approach it here. Approach the train here, I mean. But that also might be the Glenfinnan Bridge, which is up later. And then we just spent a little bit of time trying to have some fun in the Highlands. There's technically 3 locations up here that I was trying to identify, and I actually found 2 of them and didn't find the third. Now you can technically see it in the video, and I'll point out when you can see it, but the actual visibility of it to me at the time was a result of me thinking it was at the other end of the lake. So, this is Loch Shiel? Yeah, there we go. I might be pronouncing all these wrong, so I'm sorry. This is the valley and lake that Hogwarts is actually occupying most of the time.
Altitude. Altitude.
All the time, probably. It's supposed to be over here on the left, I think, on that hill. Like right there. And I do have pictures of that. And then directly ahead, at the end of the lake, is the Glenfinnan Bridge, which is featured a lot in the train scenes in Harry Potter as well. Though I had no idea that they were really close to each other, as close as they were. And it's strange thinking like when you see the picture in like 2 seconds. There.
Altitude.
He's sitting next to the Glenfinnan Bridge. Which is right there. It's really cool. But we still have one more thing to go see, and that was Dumbledore's grave, so we hooked a left and came across. But once again, me being dumb, I completely missed where it actually was. It's going to be up here, straight ahead. We're heading to this tiny little lake called Loch Aelt, I think. And right there off the nose, right there, is where Dumbledore's grave is. But I did not see it. And thought it was to the left. So we missed it completely.
Altitude. Altitude.
And then off we went. I think that there's a lot more that has been filmed here that I would recognize. I included the picture later on because I'm not sure if it's here or the Faroe Islands, and I could look it up and tell you immediately. I'll probably put a little text here right now saying whether it actually is in the Faroe Islands or in Scotland, but Andor was actually filmed in locations that look very similar to all of this, so
altitude, 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 altitude,
If you're a fan of Star Wars and Andor, the planet that I'm referring to is Aldani, the planet that they staged their big heist at, the Imperial bunker for the celestial event, the Eye, I think it's called. I don't remember. Oh, here's Loch Ness, yeah. One of the most famous lakes in Scotland, probably the most famous lake in Scotland, notable for monsters, you know, living under its depths, supposedly. And I just know that if I leave comments on, at some point somebody will tell me that they've actually seen it. And then I'm gonna have to live with that. It might take years for that comment to develop. But here we are at Inverness. And we're gonna go buzz the airport. I was thinking about landing here, to be honest. Considering the next step of the flight is like over water for quite a while. But
altitude, altitude,
a smooth buzz, that's what it is. A smooth flyover. And then unrestricted climb to cruising altitude. Which, I say unrestricted because we don't have to worry about that sort of thing, do we? Looking back on Loch Ness. And off we go to the Faroe Islands. There's a group of islands off the coast of Scotland to the north. And you can see them there on the map to the right. But I like flying there. There's a lot of like handcrafted airports in there. Or there's one really famous one with the incredible cliff sides and stuff like that. And flying around that with the helicopters are quite fun. But the only place we could land at would be the airport next to the oil field. Or the oil refinery, I think it is. And it's not that interesting, so. I wish they'd develop the terrain for a lot of these areas a lot more. Yeah, as we get bored listening to music. One of the benefits of recording the video and audio directly from the game and not my voice during these flights is that I could listen to music while I fly. However, I have discovered that it takes considerably longer to edit these videos together when I'm just editing the footage and having to go over and speak as I freaking watch the video. Especially when it messes up and I have to do it again. I could just cut it out, you know? It's Faroe Islands again. Here we are, approaching. The waterfall approach, which is the most famous entry into the airport here, is actually going to be off to our left. We're not going to pass it, but we totally could have. I've never had great luck when it comes to landing at Faroe Islands. The weather up here is very unpredictable. So, taking off and landing is always a pain with the wind. But then again, like, the first time that I flew into here for the world tour that I did that was unrecorded, it was actually completely fogged in, and I almost slammed into the mountainside because I had decided to fly VFR the whole way. I did land successfully, but it's a core memory that it's developed right there. For sure. Oh, I like the Faroe Islands. There's a guy who did there's a guy who has a YouTube channel. I can't remember what his name is or what his YouTube channel's name is or anything like that, but he's actually a pilot stationed out of here, I think, for the British Airways. There's a bunch of helicopter videos and flying videos in general here. So, if you find him, check him out. If he's watching, I know who you are. But we're gonna do a quick tour and then head out to Iceland. I say quick, but we're basically gonna do the entire circumference of the islands. It's a lot more populated than I always imagine this place to be super barren, but it's always a lot more populated than I think it is. With great infrastructure, like tunnels and roads that are actually like really well done. Oh yeah, here's the picture of Aldani from Andor. So I'll add another one just to make it a little more clear, but I have a feeling like it's actually more the Faroe Islands. And I know I said I'd put that text up earlier in Scotland, but I'm going to put it up now. Maybe both. I always wonder about how old these villages are, too. Like, do they trace their lineage back to Viking times or something like that? I bet you these islands are stuffed full of artifacts. But of course, because it's so barren and remote and all kinds of stuff, the odds of there being artifacts and of them being discovered are both equally as low. But look at that, that's a legit town down there. I shouldn't be surprised. We've flown over the desert and seen towns down there, so. All right. Now we're beginning our exit from from Faroe Islands. You'll notice also that I'm using the little nav map VR again now. I was using VFR map for whatever reason the first time. Not like it's super difficult to pull up little nav map. So I don't know why I thought to myself like that's so much effort. It's not. It's exactly the same map. Practically. 2 clicks. Two more clicks.
Altitude. Altitude. altitude, altitude,
All right, and off we go. I'd love to come here in real life and see these places. So much of the world that I would like to visit if I was made of money. Or, you know, if I worked for like a film company flying, hint hint, hire me. Just kidding, nobody's gonna watch this. There's Iceland off to the edge of the horizon. Mostly covered in snow this time around. I said this in the last attempt at editing this. I think it's worth mentioning again, but I can't decide whether I like Iceland. I think it's got very unique features and it's pretty, but it's not like my cup of tea in particular. A lot of people are very up in arms about how amazing it is. I mean, usually like, you know, usually in defense of its beauty, and that's perfectly fine. Like, I do think that some parts are pretty cool looking, but it's always seemed to me like living in Iceland was essentially living on top of a volcano covered in snow. So, we're almost done coming into Reykjavik. I forgot that we were ending the video here, and was perfectly content to continue narrating all the way to Goose Bay, but because my editing software doesn't agree with me, we're just going to fly to Reykjavik and hope for the best. So, I mean, look, it does have unique features. It's very, very pretty in its own right. It's some of the most unique mixtures of terrain, with like the black volcanic sand and beaches and like the strange greenery that exists up here, and the size of the towns. Like, Reykjavik is the capital, is it not? But it's so small. Like, it's not that populated. At least it doesn't seem so. I could be wrong, you know? I used to know a girl from Iceland, though. And she used to rave about it, so maybe there's something that can be said about it. I've heard that it's getting more expensive, though, as more tourists go. But I don't know, because I've never been, so. Alright. There's the airport. And then we're gonna hook it around for did a little bit of a loop. Tried an approach from one side. I think at this point I was still having trouble trying to figure out wind directions when it comes to the airport, so I had expected a certain direction, only to find that the wind was coming from some other direction. But that'll be it. Next flight, like I said, is from Reykjavik to Goose Bay. There's not much that I can actually put into the video that's going to be interesting, because it's just mostly water and Greenland. So, it's going to be rather short. Definitely not 40 minutes, maybe like 15. We're almost there. Just 2 more continents to go. Out of the 7, right? I guess, yeah, is Antarctica a continent? I don't know. Think about it.